Hello and welcome to a different type of video here with me, Meoni. This time I wanted to share with you some thoughts and opinions on upcoming games to be released either later this year or in early 2019. This was all courtesy to EGX, located in Birmingham, England at the NEC. Fortunately, the YouTube channel, thanks to you the viewers, has been doing so well recently I was able to get my hands on press access to the event. And essentially it was an absolute blast. I would have shared the audio with you, but honestly I'm going to have to look into external microphones to increase that quality where I can use it. I also shot this footage on a GoPro Hero Black 5, which was a birthday present that I finally got to give a whirl. So obviously I'm not an expert at any of this, and in the future I do intend to do front of the camera vlogs at some point, but it just didn't work out that way this time. Either way, like I say, EGX was awesome. It's a wonderful event where companies, big and small, from across the globe get a chance to show their latest and greatest projects. I actually started out with the PlayStation area first. Being a sucker for nostalgia, there were two games that myself and Rose wanted desperately to play. That was Kingdom Hearts 3 and Spyro, the Reignited Trilogy. I actually asked the attendant if it would be okay to film either game, and he said it was fine as long as it was over the shoulder of another person, i.e. not completely the screen and had someone else in it. So here you go, Kingdom Hearts 3 first. The demo we got a chance to play was of Andy's room in Toy Story 2. The sheer vibrance of these games blows you away immediately. Being someone who personally never played a Kingdom Hearts game before, it was pretty eye-opening to see what the game was about. The demo was fully explorable and included a street outside Andy's house that you access from going across the rooftops, and we got to see some of the fluid combat against the hordes of enemies outside. Rose, my girlfriend, was incredibly hyped to play this one, and to quote her, since she can't be here today due to being ill, she told me it was refreshing and brought back her childhood, relishing in nostalgia. It's very likely then that we'll be buying the complete package deal that Sony is offering so that I can attempt to catch up with this franchise, and if all else fails, watch Rose play it. The second game that I got to play was my childhood for sure in a nutshell, and that is Spyro the Dragon, the Reignited Trilogy. There were 3 levels to choose from, each demonstrating the first, second and third game in the original trilogy of Spyro games. Spyro the Dragon, Ripto's Rage, or Gateway to Glimmer if you lived in the UK, and Year of the Dragon, which was the third game, and the last one if you ask me. It was pretty much exactly as I remembered it, only by God did it look good. It's so much more than just a graphical upgrade though. The controls seem tighter and Spyro's animations feel much smoother and actually allow you to get a better idea of where his model will land after falling from a glide. The levels are pretty much identical at their bare bones however, and there's very little new content. However, I did overhear the booth attendee telling someone that there is in fact new content added in some form to the game, be that levels or otherwise, which is cool to know. The game comes out in November after there was a delay to get the game on the physical disc version sold in retail. There was a bit of an uproar when Sony previously said you would have to install the other 2 games past the first using download codes even though you had purchased the physical edition, which is pretty much why the game was delayed from a September release to that of November. It's going to be a cracker of a game and I cannot wait. So next up, I did attempt to go to the Square Enix section to get footage, but I was told I was not allowed to film anything there, and honestly, they didn't really bring anything new to the table aside from Just Cause 4. They wouldn't even let me record any of the already out games, such as Final Fantasy XV or the Chibi Pocket Edition version, even though Sony had let me record Kingdom Hearts 3 earlier, which puzzled me to no end. Just Cause 4, however, does look incredible, and from a small demo reel on a banner they demoed it on, showed off much of the carnage you can explore with Rico Rodriguez in this 4th edition. This time focused primarily on controlling natural disasters and weather hazards, wind and tornadoes, lightning strikes, dust and sandstorms, all to be wielded by both the bad guys and Rico once he obtains weapons to tap into those conditions himself. It looks really cool, and if you were looking forward to Just Cause 4 or want to play something stupidly fun and explosive, it's definitely the game for you. After that, we moved on swiftly from the Square Enix section straight up to Nintendo. This is an area I obviously could not film even remotely as it's Nintendo with Nintendo rules that I'm sure as a viewer of videos on YouTube that you will no doubt be aware of. However, the queue to play the new Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu edition was over 2 hours long, which nearly deterred us entirely. However, a friendly Nintendo representative approached me and asked if I wanted to check out the game. In a matter of a few minutes, I was taken to an empty slot between the heavy influx of regular ticket holders, and myself and Rose got to play the game. Honestly, it's the sole reason that we want to buy a Nintendo Switch, and I fell in love with it the moment that we touched it. We played with the new Pokeball controller, which allows you to one-hand control your way around the game with a thumbstick attached to this Pokeball. And then when you find a Pokemon in the wild that are no longer in random encounters and are physically visible on the screen now, and attempt to catch it, use your team of Pokemon, as usual, to lower the health of the victim Pokemon down as low as you can dare, and then you attempt to catch it. You select that you want to catch it, and then you physically flick your wrist in a throwing motion to throw the ball, without obviously letting go of the peripheral or your telly will be broken. It's literally the same catching reticle and method as the Pokemon Go phone application. In the demo we played, we were limited to the forest north of the beginner town, probably Pallet Town, and encountered Caterpies, Weedles, Rattatas, the usual fodder as you can imagine. It felt incredibly polished and smooth. It's a shame I can't show off any of the footage to you of this section, but at least you can get the hype I'm trying to convey in my voice for a game releasing later this year. The next game then was Jump Force. This is the anime craze that's going to sweep the world. Rose played this, and I have to say people who love the big shonen anime will love this beat 'em up. Filled with special moves associated to the characters you play, this game does look fairly smooth, with transformation animations and huge screen-filling ultimate abilities famous to the source material each of these characters is based upon. The roster, I'm told, is far from complete as we know, and features around 2 characters in the demo we played from each of the anime represented in the game, be that Bleach, Dragon Ball, Hunter x Hunter, One Piece, Naruto, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Predominantly, with some others in there as well, with some original characters made for the game additionally. With the promise of cosmetics galore and other unlocks in the game, it's sure to be interesting for anyone into those selected anime, with supposedly a story mode to fight through as well, which we didn't get a chance to try out, just some deathmatch against AI. It's a very flashy beat 'em up, and I can imagine this getting very popular with people who are good with their hands. Personally, we suck at games like this, but they are incredibly fun to watch being played. Definitely one to look out for, and I can imagine tournaments springing up around this. Next up, I played the new Ace Combat game, Ace Combat 7, set to release in January 2019. What can I say about Ace Combat? I loved the original games on the PS1 or PS2, whichever it was, with their mission structure and fairly enjoyable upgrade path for each plane, with the sheer awesomeness of flying an awesome feat of engineering as close to the ground as possible, whilst raining hell on the enemy AI. What was 7 like? Well, more of the same, really. The controls were the first thing to put me off, to be honest. It felt very restricted, and for some reason it was almost impossible to roll the aircraft. Probably a misread of the controls on my part, but even so the whole thing felt very sluggish, and not at all as fast-paced as you would be used to if you've played many flight simulator or dogfighting games in general. That doesn't essentially make the game itself bad in any way, it just didn't feel right on the controller setup I was using. I did notice that further down the line there was an option to play it with a joystick, and that's probably 10 times better. The gameplay was the usual fare, destroy as many targets as possible on the screen, and that was pretty much the demo. It felt fairly enjoyable with awesome looking explosions, but it wasn't enough to throw me completely away. It didn't initially in the demo anyway feel like any major evolution from any of the other Ace Combat games, but it wasn't exactly terrible either. We then hopped over to the Ubisoft area. I say hopped because Rose's feet were killing. I had an opportunity to queue for 2.5 hours to play the new Assassin's Creed game, and said no thanks, and we went to see something original and new instead. So next up, another game I couldn't record at the time was Starling. This is the newest multi-platform space game, where on the Nintendo Switch version exclusively you can play as the Star Fox character Fox McCloud, and fly the famous Star Fox R-Wing. What I can briefly say about the demo I played was that they have gone with the limitation of 7 or 8 planets that you can freely fly between in a solar system. Each one is mission progressed within a main storyline, and they have fully seamless outer to inner atmosphere travel from the planet's surface to space above. The big gimmick then is that you have a plastic ship that slots onto a special seat on the Switch's Pro controller and the other controllers for the other consoles as well. This allows you to place different ships in the slot, immediately recognized in the game. The same can be said for the weapons slotted in, plastic as well, and all other attachments. It's essentially a fairly good idea and reminds me predominantly of the amiibo system that's used in a lot of other games, which isn't to say that's a good thing if you think of the marketing of this type of game and the possibility of selling extras for the game in model form, but it is what it is. My problem isn't any of that, it's the ship on top of the controller. If you can imagine then, my hands are rather large. There is very little space between my hands, the thickness of my fingers, and the ship, occasionally nudging the ship out of alignment, sending the game into a pause state so I could reattach the ship again. It was actually a really decent game from what I played, just technically the ship aspect was my least favourite and obvious limitations are going to set that back, which was, until I tried it, going to be the major appeal, and now is less so. When it comes to playing games at conventions, you have to try and push so many titles into so little time, and with queues as long as 2 to 3 hours for your AAA titles, that's pretty much all we got chance to experience. However, we did go to the indie area and met some of the incredible folk from all manner of backgrounds across the globe. Some honourable mentions are the following games. The first up, Card Life. Think Minecraft, but everything is made of cardboard, and what you can build in the game is possible in real life. You can cut sheets of cardboard out in the game and design everything from houses to animals and then give them animation in the game. Anything your imagination will allow for in a fully expansive voxel-based environment, filled with colour and vibrance. There's very little to argue with. The target audience for a game like this will have already played Minecraft, however I feel this offers much more in the way of design than Minecraft might allow. The individual from Card Life I spoke to informed me that they're trying to establish roots in schools and want to desperately approach Nintendo to try and get this recognised, since Nintendo's new Labo system could be right up their alley. The key point is the game is charming, well fleshed out, and from what we played, felt very polished for an indie game. Bringing something new to the table is not always easy, but I think that Card Life has seriously useful potential in schools and general learning environments. Next up, another wonderful little gem was Beyond Blue. This game is no doubt going to be one of the more awesome titles to watch. We loved every second of the demo, immediately reminding us both of games like Ocean Waves on the Nintendo Wii and to some lesser extent Subnautica. In partnership with the BBC, this game allows you to traverse the deep ocean on a story-driven adventure, exploring the many nooks and crannies of the ocean's vast mysterious depth. With beautiful sound design and striking visuals, the game looks amazing, allowing you to scan and catalogue sea life and learn about the ocean in real life. The game throws you into the deep end, so to speak, and lets you really embrace the cold darkness and wonder that still remains for the most part unexplored in real life at such beautiful detail. It's unconfirmed at what stage they are in development, however they are in constant talks with the BBC, especially on the idea of narration. I'm a massive fan of the Planet Earth series with Sir David Attenborough, so it would be a dream come true to have Sir David do narration for the game, so fingers crossed. And lastly on the list of indie games we had the time and pleasure to play was an adorable game called Kinoko, made by the incredibly talented students on their final year at the Abertay University. Winner of the DARE 2018 Academy Award at EGX, it's a wonderful, beautiful adventure that the students should be incredibly proud of. Exploration through discovery is the main aspect of the game. With very little user interface hindrance, the story is told through the environment itself. Winter has come and taken the forest, and it's up to the titular Kinoko to end winter and bring about the spring. It was frankly mind-blowing to see the game in action with the beautiful god rays beating down from the sun. It's smooth and tactile, the terrain is beautifully woven together, and the seamless integration between gameplay and scenery is something I haven't seen before in a game. Usually games whack a big sticker on something and tell you to do this or that, but the environment itself is natural enough that you don't notice the point where artistic design has to make way for gameplay. Truly a pleasure to experience, and I advise you all to go and follow @Kinoko @snoko_the game on Twitter for more information. And that pretty much wraps up for the most part EGX 2018. There were other games we managed to play, and a lot we didn't get the opportunity to play at all due to queue times and the sheer expanse of an event like this and what it has to offer. We of the Klezmcast thank EGX 2018 for allowing us to experience the con in the royal treatment we received, and eagerly anticipate the opportunity to share more events like this with you, the viewers, hopefully next time with more involvement in front of the camera and with better equipment. Either way, thank you all kindly for watching, and we'll see you all next time.